Dodge probably has to be one of the most confusing car brands right now. I genuinely don't know if they're trying to rebuild the brand or actively speedrunning its downfall. Dodge ended the Hellcat, the Challenger, and the Charger platforms and acted like they just didn't commit some mass genocide. Which I get, the penalties for emission standards are insane, but I have my own theory on that later in the video. But now somehow we have a Rumblebee and possibly a replacement for the Dodge Viper? I mean, what a roller coaster of emotions for Dodge fans. This is like receiving a crisp handshake and then getting slapped in the face right after. Every time Dodge does something good lately, they immediately follow it up with something that confuses literally everybody. There are copious amounts of Dodge fans that were attached to the old Dodge Chargers and Challengers and honestly lost a lot of trust from what they did. And I'm not just saying that, I'm not just pulling that out my A report from Mopar Insiders says Dodge sales collapsed nearly 50% in the first half of 2025. Then in 2026, Dodge sales are up 4.4% compared to Q1 in 2025. If you're paying attention, that's still not good. You're up 4.4% compared to a quarter where you were down half of your sales. Like, congratulations, I guess. It's just frustrating because as a Dodge corporation, instead of trying to figure out a better way to keep making Challengers and Chargers, they just went electric and made questionable inline sixes that barely work. I understand the fact that your fleet of cars needs to be a certain emission standards, but your court fleet is made up of 70 to 80% of your total vehicle sales. And this might be a crazy hot take, but I would rather have you nerf the Durango and bring back the others. That's like trading your energy sword away for a plasma pistol and being told it still shoots. And I'm not one of those people that likes to say I told you so, but if I took a poll of every Dodge fan when they released the EV version and the Hurricane platform, I already know what they would have said. I mean, the proof is literally in the oil. They thought taking muscle cars this type of fan base and turning them into this was somehow gonna work. And not only that, but they also happened to mess up the engine when they rolled it out with combustion issues, premature thermostat failures causing overheating, catalytic converters overheating and melting, plus various electrical sensor glitches. I mean, if you're gonna take a risk at this magnitude, you have to make sure this baby is absolutely indestructible. However, there are a couple positives right now. Hellcats from 2015 to 2018 have finally dropped in value, where they probably should have been at all along, because nobody wants to pay between $250 to $600 a month for full coverage insurance. And on top of that, how fun is filling your cat up with premium gold right now? And honestly, based on the quality of some Dodge builds and previous owners, buying one can kind of feel like putting all your money on red. Now, with that being said, Scat Pack prices have risen a lot with them being discontinued, and for the fact that they are much more daily friendly compared to the cats. But hopping over to like the last call cars, I mean, what a scam. Call it a last call car, make the minor adjustments to the car, and then suddenly mark it up 100%. I like cars, but not enough to be stuck in poverty because I wanted a shaker hood, hood pins, and red and black interior. Speaking of marking prices up, dealerships are also to blame for this Mopar epidemic. They single-handedly changed the car market. Unfortunately, a decent amount of car salesmen knowingly take advantage of people and prey on them financially. Yes, there is accountability for buying a car you cannot afford, but you're also selling somebody a car that you know they probably won't be able to pay off based on their income and credit situation. For instance, why do I need a cosigner on an apartment with a 730 credit score at a respectable age and a decent income, but somehow an 18-year-old with barely any income and maybe a credit score from signing up from a Discover Teen card can get approved for a Hellcat? Are we for real right now? But on the other side of the coin, people are willing to buy these cars, while being completely naive to the fact that they probably shouldn't. And honestly, it's a lose-lose for everybody involved. Cars get repossessed, insurance prices go up, dealerships try to recover losses with markups, Dodge gets blamed, and the entire market gets worse. It's honestly a giant cause and effect. Because back in the day, used Chargers and 300Cs and Magnums and SRT8s were everywhere. Old SRT cars actually felt obtainable to buy. And honestly, social media has made this whole Mopar situation even worse. Back then, people bought Chargers, 300s, Magnums, and Challengers like they genuinely liked the cars. Now half of the internet treats Mopars like some kind of social status starter pack. Everywhere you look, it's just takeover clips, which are super annoying. And the sad part is, it damaged the reputation of actual Mopar enthusiasts. Because there are genuinely cool people in the community that love these cars, build them, and then correctly race them and actually respect these cars. So is Dodge cooked, or are they just in an uphill climb? Well, they maybe just saved themselves. I think the Rumblebee has potential to be something huge and exciting for Dodge fans and car fans in general. I will admit, it's really weird seeing a truck with a Hellcat engine making 770 horsepower, but honestly, this feels like Dodge's way of trying to apologize to enthusiasts. And now, will everybody forgive them? Absolutely not, especially for how low quality they were making the interiors for the Cats and Scat Packs at the end of their lives. But just please, next time, try not charging us $70K for plastic interior. I'm not asking for Bentley quality either, just give us something halfway decent. Oh, and here's another side note. I hate the design of the new Chargers. I genuinely don't think anybody likes them, but leave a comment if you do so everybody can find out where you live. If I wanted to buy a Tesla, I would just buy a Tesla. The only respectable designs right now are the Durangos and the Hornets. And they discontinued the Hornets, so we don't really have much left to really see here. But onto the car I'm most excited about, the Copperhead. Now, in my opinion, I don't think anything will ever truly replace the Viper, but I can at least give Dodge half a clap for trying. Here's where I think they either completely save themselves or completely destroy themselves again, is the engine. I've done a lot of research, and what I've concluded in the engine choice, it's either going to be another mistake with the Hurricane Inline 6, or it's going to be a supercharged Hemi V8. And I think we all know which one Dodge fans actually want. Rumor has it this thing could potentially compete with cars like the Corvette ZR1 and GT500, but with the way Dodge has been acting lately, I highly doubt it. So Rumblebee in 2027, Copperhead in 2029. But moving on to the body style, I've heard they got an inspiration from the Toyota GR Supra type look, and honestly, I don't hate it at all. I would rate it a 10 out of 10. But here's the biggest issue, the price. Are normal people with normal incomes actually going to be able to purchase this car? Probably not. Car and Driver thinks that this car could start around $100,000 MSRP, which rich collectors are going to already get their hands on them, and limited production numbers, that price could probably absolutely be ridiculous. And honestly, another thing that completely canoodles my dolphin is when rich people use modern performance cars as collectible before even enthusiasts can enjoy them. It's so sad that cars are starting to feel like less enthusiast machines and more like stock investments for rich people. But on to the next car that could potentially help save Dodge. The GLH goes like hell. And now I'm not a huge hatchback guy, and to be completely honest with you, I have no idea what these things are going to look like. We can only really speculate off the older ones, but according to Car and Driver, they speculate that the 268 horsepower turbocharged 2.0 liter 4-cylinder previously found in the Dodge Hornet is the most likely candidate for this standard model. While the SRT version could potentially make around like 324 horsepower from the Hurricane Turbo 4, this could honestly be like a really cool little car for if they price it correctly, and they might actually gain some young fans into like smaller turbo platforms. But going off small engine turbos, apparently one of Dodge's biggest reasons for discontinuing their lineup was emissions compliance issues. And I get the whole fleet thing, but if it were me, I'm taking the penalties and then giving the people what they want. Disclaimer, I still love the earth. Which after doing more research, honestly, this makes negative sense. You can still get an SRT Hellcat Durango and jailbreak, and also including the new Rumblebee SRT, which is rumored to have 770 horsepower, supercharged 6.2 liter Hellcat V8. The Rumblebee 392, which is going to have 470 horsepower, 6.4 liter Hemi V8. And now the new Copperhead potentially having a supercharged V8 too? So honestly, that gives me two explanations. Explanation 1, Dodge was too lazy to make new Chargers and Challengers emission compliant while keeping the soul of the brand alive and just nerf the rest of the fleet to save on penalties. Or explanation 2, they genuinely thought this new direction was going to be the new meta in car culture. And if either one of these explanations is true, that's horrendous. At the end of the day, I don't think people actually wanted Dodge to fail. People just wanted Dodge to stay Dodge. That's the entire reason people got attached to these cars in the first place. And honestly, I think one of the biggest reasons Dodge feels completely different now is because the people running the company are different too. Recently, Mac McLaren took over the head of Dodge, replacing Tim Kay, while Chrysler CEO Christine Fuel also added Ram trucks to her responsibilities. And honestly, I think this changed the entire vibe of Dodge because Tim Kay understood Mopar people, and they were doing just fine. But now Dodge feels like more corporate and sanitized. Like instead of making actual cars for enthusiasts, they started making cars for board meetings and investors. Now, to be fair, I don't think the new ownership is trying to destroy Dodge generally, but they're just not doing a great job of understanding the brand. So now, the big question is whether Dodge finally understands their audience again, or are they completely lost? I guess the best solution right now is just buying older Dodge platforms and modding the absolute crap out of them. So, are you still buying Mopar in 2026? Leave a comment below and what you think about the Mopar Epidemic. Are they about to save themselves, or are they completely cooked? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one on Torque Savvy. Peace.